What's up? I hope you're having an awesome day. And in this video, I'm going to talk about 6 ways to never have a real job but still succeed. And that's what happened to me. So, just to give a couple of points on what I mean, is when I went to university, I just took classes in what I was interested in. I didn't chase like a good money making career. That's how I ended up in anthropology and sustainable development and social science and stuff like that, which later I wasn't able to get a job with that, but that very much served me later when I became a manager and a leader and a marketer and other things. Um, another what thing I'm talking about here about not having a real job, that's college. Then I'm going to talk about I spent almost 10 years in Alaska. I used to live on a glacier, running sled dogs, helping somebody train um, for the Iditarod sled dog race. I was passionate about it. That's what I did. That's what I got paid to do. I used to take a helicopter to work. That's what I got paid to do. You can't go to school for that. And now, fast forward a little more, I have my own business that I operate from home. I have a little cabin I built in my backyard that's my office, and I run a remote software company in the education space. Now I still work very hard, all the like for my working life or my adult life, and even in my young adult life, I worked extremely hard. So this isn't about like not working and being lazy. It's about not getting a quote real job, but still finding success and succeeding in life. Because sometimes that whole thing about go to school, get good grades, choose a major that's, has a high odds of success, that kind of narrative is breaking down for some people. So I was just looking back on my life and looking at things that worked for me as I kind of took this non-traditional path. Not for the sake of being non-traditional, I'm just a little bit stubborn and I know what I like, I know what I don't like, and even with the odds stacked against me, I was still able to pull it off. So I have 6 things here that came into play in my life that made this happen. Number one is to chase the passion, not the Benjamins. So chase the passion, not the money. I've always been that way where I had passions that were, not necessarily super profitable, like a love for the outdoors, a love for rock climbing, a love for hiking, a love for world travel, a love for learning, a love of dogs. A love of understanding human nature. I always chase these things, not like, okay, I need to have a 6 figure career as soon as I graduate college and get hired right away with no risk. I just focused on my passions and what was unfolding for me and trying new things to see if I could find new passions I was not aware of, not chasing the money. Because I see this sometimes that people chase the money and then as they get older, they realize they lean the ladder against the wrong wall, or they're depressed, or they realize that that they're just not happy. And luckily for me, not necessarily by design, more by stubbornness, I ended up being satisfied with the paths I took. Um, the other one is to don't. Number two is don't compromise on your values. So there's certain things that I know about me and learned about myself at a young age, which I was unwilling to compromise on. I have a love for nature. I like rural areas, so I don't live in a big city. I don't. I like visiting them, but I don't. I live in a small coastal Maine town, not even in town, outside of town, and that's where I like to be. And there's often not a lot of job opportunities where I like to live. So I was just not willing to compromise on my desire to live rurally and close to nature and be able to exercise in nature and have adventures with easy access over going to some big city where there's supposedly a lot of job opportunities. Another one is dogs. I actually love dogs. I've always loved dogs. That's how I ended up in Alaska. And even I had a pet dog that one of the things that drove my choice to get into sled dog mushing was I wanted to bring my dog to work. Well, there's no better way to, spend time with your dog than go to a place where it's all about dogs. Another one is um, kids and how I wanted to approach raising my kids. So it was very important to me to um, provide a unique learning opportunity for my kids and allow them to develop their own interests and do project-based learning. So I'm not willing to compromise on that. So we've designed our life around making that possible to homeschool our kids and do all kinds of activities with them so they can develop their own passions and interests. Um, and we ended up moving to a community that had a strong homeschooling. Lots of kids are homeschooling and doing all that kind of thing around here, so we could have a strong community for that. Number 3 is practice minimalism and learn survival. So when you follow your passion, you often go through what I call the valley of despair, where, as I went after my outdoor career, there was a long period where I didn't make much money and I had to live off very little. And there was even a period where I lived in the back of my car as I was traveling around the country, trying to, figure out where I fit in. If you can't go super minimalist and super light on budget, that makes it difficult. And that's a skill you develop. When you start a company, as I'm imagining if you're bootstrapping and not bringing in outside capital, you need to go through a period of not making much money, trying to find product market fit, releasing your minimum viable product and all this kind of stuff, that if you need like some really high standard of living, you got the car payment, the house payment, and all that, the credit card's maxed out and all that, it's really hard to survive through all that. So if you practice minimalism and can survive on very little and like stop going out to eat, learn how to cook at home, minimize what you need, sell off things you don't actually need, learn to live below your means. These are all things that serve you well, and don't force your hand into getting a job you may not want. The other thing I do is I ignore hierarchy and see people as people. I hear a lot of people talk about office politics or in their industry and all this like hierarchy, and I just pretty much have always ignored all of that. I mean, I can see it as an anthropologist and a sociologist, but I just see people as people. I listen to what they say, and more importantly, watch what they do, but most importantly, how they treat other people. So I see a lot of people get wrapped up in all this hierarchy of, I got to work my way up, or, oh, they're too famous, I can't talk to that person, or, who am I to think that I can go do that? I pretty much take all that, throw it in the garbage, and just see people as people. And yeah, some people have found more success than others, but that doesn't mean you can't reach out to them, talk to them. You'd be surprised at who, if you do reach out to them genuinely and try to serve and help and, create some kind of win-win conversation, you'd be amazed how far you can go. And that habit has served me well. When I go to a conference or an event, I'm not too worried about the hierarchy or the social stratification there, or even locally in my community or politically. I just see people as people, and that takes a lot of pressure off, and it also makes you, it like what Seth Godin says is you got to like stop waiting to be picked and like kind of plugged into some hierarchy that's out there and work your way up. Just see people as people and build relationships and friendships and business relationships and move on. The other thing is, number 5 is don't be a victim. This goes to realizing what you can control and what you can't, and not blaming other people or systems or situations for your, where you're at. It is very true that not everybody has the equal chances of success, or some people are handicapped by different factors in whatever the pursuit is. But if you don't, I would say I don't really spend time in being a victim about, oh, I'm here because of XYZ, therefore I can't go to ABC. It's just a waste of time. And when you really get outside of the victim mindset, you'd be surprised how much opportunity opens up in the world just by getting out of that mindset. And I think the scary thing about the victim mindset is a lot of people don't realize they're in it. And there's a lot of denial that comes with that. So when you realize how your potential and how much you truly can accomplish in a year or several months, or by really committing and executing on some kind of goal, that is very liberating. And I'm definitely not perfect at this, and yeah, maybe sometimes I end up blaming something. So I'm not saying like I know exactly how this works, but one of the things that served me most is just not being a victim. Like basically, it's not about playing defense; it's about playing offense. So it's offense in life. And then the sixth thing I want to add is just to stay curious. Um, I have a lifelong love of learning. It's why I do what I do. In the education technology space with having a learning management system software. I learn every day. I exercise. I listen to podcasts, audiobooks while I'm, running or walking the dogs or whatever. And that curiosity, that insatiable childlike curiosity, allows me to just keep going and really enjoy life and be open to possibilities. Because if you're closed off and you're not curious and you're executing a script or some kind of formula or some blueprint or some story that you've been told, uh, you lose that curiosity. So as much as you can hang on to or rekindle that sense of childlike curiosity and open-mindedness, the further you can go and succeed without having a quote real job. If you have a tip for somebody who's trying to figure out how to carve their own way, design their own lifestyle or career, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you think about this video. And click subscribe if you enjoyed this. And let me know down below what you'd like to hear about next. I'm happy to elaborate on any of these points. Just drop a comment. Thanks for checking this out, and I wish you all the best on your journey.